Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 When we go to a wedding and 6 months later you visit those people, they will promptly bring out a big album and sit with you and go through all the pictures. Honestly, when they go through the album, what does one look for? One looks for those pictures where one is present. I attended this wedding, so I must be there in some pictures. So you are not so interested in what is happening in the other pictures, but more interested in which picture are you in. Human nature is to see oneself, but to see oneself correctly. See oneself now. Shastra says you are better than the best. Wouldn't it be wonderful if that is true? Shastra says you are better than the best. You know that's not true. That's not true as long as you associate the I with the Sharira. It can never be that. There will always be something better. In the world of finites, there is no end. In the world of finites, however high one rises, there is always more to go. So how can what Shastra tells us be true? I'm studying Shastra today because I have certain confidence, certain Shraddha in the Shastra. Also, somewhere in the back of my head, I have a vague hope. Because Shastra says so, I must be somehow better than the best. If only I can understand how, everything would be wonderful. I was going to say life will be wonderful, but life itself gets altered in your thinking once that clarity is there. Why is it that I don't understand? Why is it that I can't accept on face value when the Shastra says you are better than the best? Because I'm always comparing. And in that comparison, I am comparing what is in the Sharira with what is in other Sharira. things that are physically visible and things that are not so easily visible. On both grounds, there is someone or something always better. I can become the president of the most powerful country in the world. But ask Biden or Z what their life is like. It is not all a bed of roses. There's something missing. There's always something better. Now, why do I only see this? Why do I not see what Shastra is trying to tell me? There are vignas. Something is preventing me from seeing this. If I see it clearly, that's it, that's the end. If I am the better than the best, which means I am Purnaha, there cannot be anything better. There is no plus one to that. How can I see it? What prevents me from seeing it? There are vignas. And how do I remove those vignas? Obstacles in my ability to perceive that. If I can remove those obstacles on the way, and I can clearly see what the Shastra is trying to tell me, what every Upanishad is trying to tell me, then I will need nothing more. I will not be a wanting individual. But there are obviously many things which are preventing me from seeing this. So what is the way to remove them? Prashamanartham. How do I quieten those obstacles? There is only one way. Appeal to a power. Appeal to a knowledge to help me see this. Appeal for help. And that one power, one knowledge, which can help me learn this, is what we call Ishvara. Call it by any name. Give it any form you want to. That one power's anugraha, grace, is what I am looking for. Because on my own, I'm not able to see it. And I want to see it. I want to be what Shastra says I am. So I need Ishvara's grace. Whatever else I might think, I may not think. Even if people say, I don't believe in Ishvara or God in any form, we will take that also. No, I believe in God in this form, we'll take that also. But as long as you know that your capability is limited, your knowledge is limited, your skills are limited, because I have defined myself like that. I need some help from somewhere else. That's somewhere else I'm looking for help. Is what I call Ishvara. By any name you call it, it is still Ishvara. Therefore, we started this whole Upanishad study with a simple prayer and ended it by saying, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Please help Shamanartham, Prashamanartham, all the obstacles that are there in the way which are preventing me from seeing the truth of myself as being infinite, Purnaha. I did that. Even with all that, I studied this Upanishad. Upanishad itself says you study any one Upanishad, you will know. I studied the Upanishad. And it's so cryptic. We use all kinds of words for it, aphorisms, sutra. It is our primary source of understanding, but the source is so cryptic. It is cryptic because of many reasons. One of them is because it is meant to be transmitted orally. You can't keep on writing verbose explanations. So you have to know this sutra. In fact, the sutra itself is defined. There are many sutras. Brahma Sutra is there. Narada Bhakti Sutra is there. All these texts are in the form of sutra. The sutra is Alpaksharam. By very definition, Alpaksharam. Minimal words. Wherever you can cut a word, you can cut a matra, you reduce it. So it becomes easier and easier to learn. In fact, there is another sutra which says that when somebody is writing a sutra, if he can save half a matra, he becomes as happy as having had a son. That was in the form of sutra. So one of the first things you should know about sutra is it is Alpaksharam. And even though it is Alpaksharam, you cannot have any room for doubt. You cannot be vague. Asandigdham. No room for doubt. And just because I have to write it very concisely, and therefore I swallow words, I cannot do it in such a fashion that it loses meaning. It has to be Saravat. Alpaksharam, Asandigdham, Saravat. Not only that, these sutras, whether you're talking about Sanskrita Vyakarana Sutra or you're talking about any of the Mula Granthas, they have to be applicable universally. You cannot say, no, it will apply only to this group, not to this group. No, these Upanishads are only for people born in India. No. These are applicable to everybody. Anybody can learn them, provided they have addressed their obstacles, provided they have adequate punya to find a guru, and adequate punya to have access to this knowledge. So it has to be universally acceptable. Vishwato mukham. Not only that, as if you see the flow of any text, any sutra text, it has to flow smoothly, not be jarring. But astobhum. And it should have no mistakes, no internal contradictions. Any exception must be clearly spelled out. Called anavadhvam. By very definition, this is the sutra literature. Obviously, when you have all these things satisfied, and you're able to transmit this orally from Guru to Shishya, the Shishya first learns it by heart. We don't do that now, these days, because we have printed books. Not only printed books, we go to the internet and everything is available. And now we've gone one step further. We have all kinds of support facilities. You go to the mobile phone, you ask Siri, find out this for me. Or you go to the computer, ask Copilot or Chat GPT or whatever. But the correct process is one learns it by heart. When can you do that? When you're a child. When you're a child, you can learn it by heart even if you don't understand the meaning. It is so much easier once you know that. There was a famous actor, singer in Hindi films and Bengali films called Kishore Kumar. He was not very good at studies. He used to say that the way I passed my exams in school was I used to sing my lessons. So I knew them by heart. He was a very good singer, very creative singer. So he'd sing it. And therefore he would memorize it. So even if he didn't understand, he would be able to answer questions. Our own Surya and others have done a wonderful thing with children. You know, all the small children who come to Arsha Vidyalaya, they can tell you all the 27 nakshatras. I'm not sure how many of us can do that. And how did they do it? Very simply, very quickly. Because these boys and others put them in the form of a song. Ashwini Bharani. Nicely they did. So now all the children know. Later they will understand what this is and what it means, what each nakshatra means, and what is the relevance to astronomy and astrology, of course. So these are the reasons why, in addition to all other problems, to understand the Upanishad, one struggles. Obstacles on the way, which prevent us from seeing it. Inadequate punya to have access to it. And lot of difficulties. How do we overcome them? Only through Ishvara's grace. Ishvara anugrahena eva pumsam advaita vasana. Advaita knowledge is what we are trying to figure out. That I am infinite, I am Purnaha. If I am Purnaha, I have to be Advaita. No Dvaita, there cannot be a second. That is moksha. Then, of course, there's other problem. All these texts are written in Sanskritam. Not written, I'm sorry. All these texts are written in spoken in a language called Sanskritam. Sanskritam is not a written language. Sanskritam is a spoken language. Therefore, I should know the language. Not only do I need to know the language, I need to know its structure, the grammar, vyakaranam. Then only I can study that in the original text and understand it. Even though I have a guru who unfolds it for me. In the Sampradaya, I still need to understand what the guru is saying. One can read translations. Good. But you and I know any translation always short of the original. You can experiment with it. Nowadays, there are very good translation programs available on the net, in Google and various other programs. You do this experiment. You take one paragraph. You translate, let us say you take it in English. You translate it to any other language you want, using one of these applications. Then you take the new paragraph and translate back into the original language which you just started. And if we don't laugh, there's something wrong. It can never be 100%. The translator brings his own thinking into that. He has to understand what the original language says, absorb it, there's a problem, and then he's going to rewrite it. Clearly, his own inputs will come. Translations are good. I'm not decrying translations. But you have to know the original text. Then you read the translation. Then you can filter out what is incorrectly done. For example, we are studying now this Kathopanishad. We're going to be studying in Sanskritam. And the book that we have given you has a translation in Hindi. Some shortcoming will be there. But because both use the same basic text writing, I think there's hopefully not so much. There's a Swami Gambhirananda who's done this translation of all the Bashyam into English. Monumental work. And some of those people had also sent me a thing saying, can I use Gambhirananda's translation? Use sure any translation. And Swami Gambhirananda is probably amongst the better ones in English. But please try and follow the original Sanskritam. We will see as we study this Bashyam, where the role of grammar comes in. Panini's grammar comes in. When you study Sanskritam, you cannot but admire the way that grammar has been structured by Panini. Particularly if you're a logical, analytical person, you will feel like doing pranam to Panini. Amazing the way it's been done, the way the language is, and the way it's been explained in terms of grammar. It's just incredible. Panini's grammar is just out of the world. He didn't do it entirely himself. There are obviously a lot of people before him who've done a lot of work from where he's taken. But what we have available today is Panini's structure of the grammar. I don't think there is anything more complete than that one. All written in the form of sutra. I am not recommending that you become Vaiyakaranas. In fact, there is a danger there. If you start studying Sanskritam and start studying Panini, it can be addictive. It can take us so deeply into that the original intention of learning what the Shastra has to say can get put in the background. Not only Sanskritam, music, particularly our music, the Carnatic music, is all about Ishvara and Bhakti. There's nothing other than that in that music. Beautiful. Even the Hindustani classical, which has got a lot of mixture of other people who come in and got mixed up a little bit. The basic thing is about love for Ishvara. You can drown in that. Then you have no more space to study what you wanted to study, what you started studying. So you need a dose of Sanskritam. And those of you who have not had any exposure, I would definitely recommend learning the basics. But as a matter of caution, I will also tell you that the study of Vedanta is our purpose. Our Acharya used to say, the study of Vedanta is your main dish. Sanskritam, please use like a side dish. Don't get drowned in that. So Vedanta, we are trying to study because we want to find out what really is my own nature. About me. Every sentence we read is about me. Now, because this is sutra literature, I have a little challenge in my hands to study this, even with the help of a guru. Therefore, I depend on the Sampradaya in the form of Bashyam written by Adi Shankaracharya. He takes every word in the Mula Grantha and explains it, expands on it, and shows what is the meaning. Not only that, meaning, like I said, one might argue that Shankaracharya interprets the meaning himself. So do other people. There are many others who accept the Shastra, they study the Shastra, they take a word of the Shastra, analyze it, and say this should be how the meaning should be understood. So when Shankaracharya gives a meaning, for a word, for a sentence, for the vision, he has to take into account many other interpretations, the meanings that have been given by other people, or also no small people. They're all, each one of them, giants. And address those words and say, this is the meaning you should take. Why not this meaning that so-and-so has taken? And he's got to show and defend the meaning that he has given. So in a Bashyam, that somebody like Shankaracharya writes, he takes the Mula Grantha, takes the word, explains the word, gives how it should be understood, and explains why any other understanding is not tenable. This is the nature of Bhashya. Shankaracharya is called the Bhashyakara. Whenever we say Bhashyakara, the reference is to Adi Shankaracharya. Although many other people have written Bhashyas for many things. There's another Bhashyakara, referred to as Mahabhashyakara. He is one Rishi called Patanjali. This is not probably the same Patanjali who wrote Ashtanga Yoga. This is a Patanjali who's written a Bhashyam on Panini Sutras. Analyze that. And all Bhashyam generally follow the same pattern. We will see that as we study the Bhashyam. They take the Mula text, take a word, expand in it, take a sentence, explain what the sentence should mean, why no other meaning is tenable. This is what I'm saying. Defend it against any other point of view. Mahabhashyakara has done the same thing. And in doing this, what is the pramana? How do I show that this is the correct way to look at it? Because all these texts which talk about this knowledge have to have consistency. Therefore, I can quote from elsewhere, from another Upanishad, or from Bhagavad Gita, or from Brahma Sutra, or any other text, to validate the interpretation that the Bhashyakara gives. This is Bhashyam. But these commentaries are of different types. Bhashyakara gives the meaning, and whatever he has said, his ukti, he will defend. Why not some other? Called Purva Pakshi. For some of the texts, particularly for Brahma Sutra, such very detailed Bhashyam is already available, written by Adi Shankaracharya. For 10 of the Upanishads, as I told you, he's written Bhashyam. But in this particular Upanishad, he's written what is called a vritti. What is the difference between Bhashyam and vritti? Vritti is also similar in the sense that it takes the sentence from the Mula Grantha, it explains that. But the difference is, it does not go into what other possible interpretation can be and why they are not correct. It does not go into that argument. There is no Purva Pakshi argument in a vritti normally. That is why when we start studying Bhashyam, we start with either the Kathopanishad, which is a vritti, or Mundakopanishad, which also is a vritti. Otherwise, you can see, we are studying, those who are studying, they're coming to the Bhagavad Gita class, the kind of fine arguments that take place. We are on the 18th chapter, looking at some arguments and counter arguments. So when you start studying the Bashyam, we don't want to jump into that straight away into the deep end. We will start with something like the Kathopanishad. But suppose Shankaracharya has written a Bashyam, but even that Bashyam, to understand, I need more help. So many people have taken the trouble of looking at Shankaracharya's Bashyam itself and written a Bashyam on the Bashyam. Why did Shankaracharya use this word? Why did he interpret it like this? Such a thing is called a Vartikam. Sureshwaracharya is called the Vartikakara, because he's written Vartikam. But you could also write not the word by word commentary. One could write the Bhashyam and show what is the vision that Acharya has brought out. Such a text would be called Karika. Therefore, there is no commentary on word by word interpretation. If you do this on the Bhashyam itself, how is the vision unfolded? That is called a Tika. Most famous Tika is Mandikya Upanishad. Gaudapada Acharya has written elaborate Tika. And if we write like footnotes for any of these, those footnotes are called Tippani. So here in this Kathopanishad Bashyam, we will read the Bashyam and see how Shankaracharya has developed the Bashyam and interpreted the Upanishad itself. In many of these, Shankaracharya will start by writing an introductory Bhashyam or a Sambandha Bhashyam. Here also is done that. But even more importantly, because Acharya recognizes the need for Ishvara's grace, both for the teacher and the student, and for what he is trying to write. In every writing of the Acharya, you will find the beginning is a prayer. Here also he starts with a simple prayer, which we'll read together. Om Namo Bhagavate.
Om Namo Bhagavate.
Vaivasvataya.
Vaivasvataya.
Mrityave.
Mrityave.
Brahma Vidyacharyaya. Achiketa Secha. Always start with a Mangala Suchakam. Om. Om actually is a sound. It's called a Shabda Pratika, which includes everything. Now we say that everything here is Ishvara. If Om includes everything, Om is Ishvara. That Om is in many ways written, even when we write small things, we first start, we put a little symbol. Purpose is to recognize Ishvara as everything. So Om is a Mangala Suchaka. That is how we start anything. Some form of recognition of Ishvara. And then he writes, Namaha. Salutations to. Now, I said salutations to. Salutations always to something or somebody. In Sanskrit grammar, it is called the Chaturthi Vibhakti. We always say, for example, Bhagavate. Bhagavate is to Bhagavan, unto Bhagavan. So you will find all of these will take the same case, Chaturthi. Namo Bhagavate to Ishvara. Salutations unto Ishvara. The prayer starts with a salutation to Ishvara. Namo Bhagavate. So salutation is your verb to Ishvara. Here, not only Ishvara. Every Upanishad typically is a dialogue between a teacher and a student. To the teacher who gives us that knowledge, who cannot give you the knowledge without a student. Therefore, the student also becomes important. Without a student, the teacher is only a person, not a teacher. So it is the reference is always to the teacher, salutations to Ishvara and salutation to the Guru. And in this case, he is also saluting the student. Except salutation is important. And in this case, generally in all Upanishads, you will find the student is not a Ajnani. Ajnani in the sense that that's why he's going to learn, but already knows a lot. You can make it out by the kind of questions they ask, by what they ask. You will learn this later as we see this, the entire Upanishad, how elevated Nachiketas is. Nachiketas is the student. And there's a story about how Nachiketas goes to Lord Yama. Not to death, but to the Lord of death. There's a huge difference that we should understand. When you say sun, it is what shines in the sky, gives life to the earth, makes life on earth possible, gives light to the earth. But we associate a presiding deity with it. Aditya. To that presiding deity of death, Kala, that presiding deity is also Devata. Just because we think of Yama, Lord Yama, as the one who takes away life, he is also Devata. In this case, he is shown not just as a Devata, but is shown as a Devata who is Brahma Vidyacharya, who is the Acharya for Brahma Vidya. That Brahma Vidya is what we are trying to learn. That Brahma Vidya is the knowledge of Brahman. And what is that knowledge? There is only Brahman. There is nothing else. If there is nothing else, if Brahman is the only is, what is I? I also is. I is also is. I'm not even saying am. Am, I add an individuality, no individuality. I is. I cannot give up I. I is. Brahman is. Nothing else is. If nothing else is, I is the only is, Brahman is the only is, I and Brahman must be the same. What I call I is Brahman. What I call Brahman is I, which is the only thing. If that is the only thing, that means there is no possibility of a plus one. This is what we're trying to understand. That I am Purnatvam itself. I, or better still, I is Anantam, endless, no limits. That knowledge, Brahma Vidya, which this Acharya can give us, such an Acharya is Lord Yama, Lord of Kala, Lord of Death. So he says, Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Brahma Vidyacharya, unto that Acharya who is going to give me the Brahma Vidya. Who's also, these are all adjectives, the same thing. Vaivasvataya. Vivaswan is Lord's son. And Lord Yama is considered one of the sons of Vivaswan. Therefore, Vivaswan's apatyam pumsaha, that son of Lord's son, the son S-O-N of Lord's son S-U-N, to him, salutations. Bhagavate Vaivasvataya. Mrityave. Not to death. We understand Mrityu literally as death. But I said, anything you take, we assign a presiding deity. For knowledge, we have presiding deity. For wealth, we have presiding deity. For light, we have a presiding deity. For eyes, we have a presiding deity. For everything, we can have a presiding deity. A devata. Mrityave, to Lord Mrityu, Lord Kala. To that, Yamadharmaraja, Yama, who is a Brahma Vidya Acharya. To him, salutations. As I said, you cannot be an acharya without a student. You have to have a student to be called a teacher. And that student, one of the prayers that every teacher has is, may my student be good, one who absorbs the knowledge quickly, one who asks intelligent questions. Every teacher has a prayer. There is in Taittiriya Upanishad the complete prayer. Amayantu brahmacharina swaha. Praying, please let those brahmachari students come who are really qualified, to whom I can teach and they will understand. Otherwise, I'll be wasting my time and my energy. Therefore, a student is also necessary to make the teacher a teacher. And a student who can absorb what the teacher is saying, who, like I said, can ask intelligent questions, probing questions. To that Shishya, my salutations. Here in this case, the Shishya is only one Shishya. In some other case, we will have multiple Shishyas. Nachiketas, young boy, probably barely out of his teens, but already a very thinking person. We will see that. Who asks extremely intelligent questions. Who asks for that knowledge which transcends dharma and adharma. Even the formulation of the question itself is indicative of the capability of the Shishya. You will yourself notice many questions will come to your mind when you start studying Vedanta. The kind of questions that come to your mind in the initial stages are required to dispel much of the wrong notions. But as one studies more and more and more, the nature of questions will change. Questions will continue. You will notice yourself. Those of you who've been studying Vedanta for some time, you will already have seen this. We all form certain ideas based on experiences, based on what we've seen of the world around us. And based on that, we draw some conclusions and hold on to that. When we come to study Vedanta, we are advised, don't throw away whatever conclusions you've drawn, but keep them in the background. Don't throw it away. Because many of the things that you learn here may be diametrically opposite to what you think you know. Then there'll be certain confusion. The reaction should not be, therefore I reject what I'm learning because I think I already know. If you start with that assumption, there'll be no further learning. Therefore, Shastra tells us, keep them, don't throw them away. And examine what you're learning, see how you can reconcile the two. And Nachiketa is one such. Kind of questions he asks of his father, kind of questions he asks of his acharya. You will find them extremely intelligent, of that of a thinking person. We will examine them in further classes. This is the prayer that Acharya starts this whole exercise with Om Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Vrityave Brahma Vidyacharya Nachiketase cha. And then he starts his Sambandha Bashyam after this, which will start tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.